Bit of Facebook.
There you go.
Alrighty, we are live, and you're listening to the Clock End Talk. I'll just wait a couple of minutes for a few people to join our chat. Tony, how are you, buddy? Anyway,
Yeah, not too bad. Enjoyable evening Saturday. Watching us lift another piece of silverware. It's been bank holiday here, so pretty quiet weekend after that. And yeah, obviously some decent news or a decent video to watch on YouTube today.
nice. And Jack, how are you, buddy?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, good, mate. Sorry, I got a bloody frog in the throat now. I'm good, mate. I'm good. I've, it's been a great week for me because Arsenal fan, I lift the trophy, and as a Sydney FC fan, we also lifted a trophy. So my team's lifted 2 trophies in one day, so I was pretty happy.
And you can't forget Roma's signing of Henrik Mkhitaryan from Arsenal, so you get to enjoy him even more.
Actually, funny enough, I think I was talking to somebody the other day, and he has been really good in Italy, and it just shows. It might have been on the podcast I was talking about a few weeks ago. It just shows me how the gap between the Premier League and the Serie A is like. And I thought maybe it's the way we were using him at Arsenal compared to Roma, and I don't know what it is, but I think I put it down to the Premier League is the toughest competition in the world, and you either make it or break it. So,
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, well, we are live, and welcome to the Clock End Talk. You can follow us on Twitter at @clockend_talk. I'm your host, Tez. You can get me at Gurner Tez, and you can complain about our comments and whatnot, like they did last week. Maitland Niles, we did carry on a little bit too much with that, Tony, apparently. So, this week I'll just give a quick one.
It's funny you say that because obviously after his performance on Saturday, I bet them same comments that we've got criticised with don't get repeated today.
yeah, probably more than likely. Look, I'm going to do, because we're going live, and we get lots of questions on the live as well as questions on Twitter. Each week, I'm going to give you a rundown of the show. So that way, we're not repeating ourselves. You don't ask the same question that we've already touched on. Rundown today is Community Shield. We're going to talk about Gabriel Ceballos. We're also going to talk about the outings. Bellerin rumours with PSG are pretty strong. Transfer rumours in. We've got Coutinho, and I'm not going to pronounce this bloke's name. Has anyone even thought of what is it? Arwar?
Apparently in French it's like or something along those lines.
Okay.
Accent isn't the strongest.
So yeah, so we'll talk about that, and then we'll get to everybody's questions as well. Couple of shout outs so far. MAA Gunner, you're streaming on TikTok. I don't know, Tony, are we?
You actually have TikTok. I don't know why you put it onto me. You actually came in the chat the other day. Please add me on TikTok. I want some friends.
Island Boy Gurner or Rowan, he's changed his name. I get so confused. He won the shirt the other week. How are you, buddy? And Robert, mate of mine, Manchester United fan, he says, well done on the win, the Liverpool boys. Glorified trophy, as some Arsenal fans have mentioned. But Tony, I'll let you wrap this Community Shield up, mate. Your thoughts on everything over
there? It's a great win. It's not a full-blown trophy, and had we won the game, obviously you're beating the champion. If you're going to win it, you've got to beat the champions, and I think that's what it is. It was a performance from a weakened Arsenal team against an almost full-strength Liverpool, 1 or 2 players out. And I mean, even if the game ended in a draw and there was no trophy at the end of it, I think most Arsenal fans would have still been pretty much as happy because the performance. And for me, that's what I'm looking at. Yeah, it's great to get the silverware at the end of it, but for me, I'm looking at the level of performance. And look, I'm not saying we're as good as them, but thinking ahead, I'm not scared of games against the so-called big boys. In years gone by, I mean, we've got them at Anfield. I think it's the 3rd game of the season, the 4th game of the season, and we've had them that slot, I think, 2 or 3 out of the last 5 years. And every time you go there, you think, oh, fucking hell, we're going to get dicked today. Like, it'd be good if we can keep it under X amount, under 2 goals or whatever. And this year you go, well, yeah, obviously they're still favourites, but judging on our recent performances, we've got a chance. And that's what it was about for me. As I said, the trophy or the shield is fantastic, but for me, I was mainly focused on the level of football, whether we won or lost. But the performance was very impressive.
Jack, your take on it all, mate, and just obviously touch on what the Community Shield means to you, because like overseas over here, it's probably a lot different to what it means to you guys. I don't know, could be talking shit too, but yeah.
No, yeah. So to start with, just to before, I'd say in terms of the game, similar to Tony said, I took it as a very impressive performance, simply because the fact that quite a few of our players only had a training session or two. Liverpool had a full camp, as I said last week, to Austria. And I've got to be honest, when the team came out, I did not think we'd be able to win the game. Thought it was a strange lineup, and me and my mate Charlie, we kind of looked at each other as if we kind of knew we were going to get a good slap up by Liverpool. However, it wasn't the case. We played really well. We kept ourselves in a nice, I'd say, very strict formation. We held our own well. We commanded the midfield when we needed to. We also let them press. And apart from the Minamino goal, I don't really remember them being that strong going forward. I think we covered them quite well defensively. And it was a really solid performance. I think I remember saying that even if we were to, when we 1-0 up to, let's say in the last 10, 15 minutes, when you could see the likes of, let's say, Nketiah and Saka just look knackered, I think I wouldn't have been upset, I was saying, if we would have lost 2 or 3-1, because the fact that we got that far on such little training was so impressive. But we gained through it and we won the game. And I think the reason as fans we're reacting where we are isn't just because it is a minor trophy to an extent. I mean, it is essentially just the English Super Cup. But at the end of the day, it's more the fact of the change in mentality. It's like when we drew away at Chelsea, it's that we were so excited because of how we came back in that game. And I think it's the same sort of excitement from that as it stands. And then in terms of what the Community Shield means to me, it's actually one of my earlier memories as an Arsenal fan. I remember always when I was a kid, like being at a hotel with my family and going to the sports bar with my dad to watch Community Shield when I was, let's say, 4 or 5 in the Millennium Stadium. And I think from then onwards, like, people discredit it, but at the same time they hype up Super Cups in other countries. And I think although it is a minor trophy and it doesn't change how the season is going to progress for either team, it's still a great confidence booster, and it's something that's good to win. I mean, regardless, we still pocketed £1 million from winning it. Do you know what I mean? So it's still money for the club. So I'm happy about it.
Tony, the game obviously full time 1-1. And we go into extra time, and it ends up a penalty shootout, and Arsenal do win it. Extra time, yeah. So what the question I'm going to ask is, hey, after the 90 minutes, we draw 1-1 against the champion. You're still pretty happy there, right?
Yeah, so look, I kind of agree. Well, I completely agree with what Jack said. It was performance over anything else, and had they scored late on and won 2-1, obviously I'm more happy having won than I would have been had lost. But I would have been content. So I would have been happy if we'd have lost it 2-1. Just the level of performance, as Jack said, our players were clearly not as fit or not as match sharp as they were. They were dropping like flies after 70 minutes. I mean, I honestly believe the only reason Aubameyang stayed on the pitch is because we didn't have any attackers on the bench, and they wanted him to take a penalty if it got that far, because he was fucked. Saka was done after about 50 to 55 minutes. So was Eddie, and it just was what it was. And I think Arteta was also trying to get them to dig deep, because he left players on a lot longer than they were ready to play. But I think he was seeing who could dig deep for him, and when they are fucked at the end of the game, who can bed in for 5 to 10 minutes and just see it out. Because he only, up until really late on, he'd only made, I think, one sub was Hector, was the only one, and then he made 3 at once after the goal. So yeah, the performance supersedes the result for me. And as I said, if it was the performance I was happy with, and it wouldn't have mattered if they got a late goal. A little bit of fun lifting the trophy, and you'll enjoy a penalty shootout when you win it. When you lose it, they're horrible.
I'll be honest, I didn't take a lot of notice with the lineup coming out. It is a pre-season trophy tournament, whichever you want to call it. However, one name did really stand out to me, and I'll get your thoughts as well, Jack, in a minute. But Tony, El Neni, I'm I'm just so confused on what's happening with El Neni. Like he started, this is the second game he started now in these friendly tournaments, and
Yeah.
I know it's. I think he's going. I can only think he's going, but is he got a chance to keep his spot? I don't know. It's fun. It's so bizarre.
It's hard to say. I mean, I know there's teams looking at him because he done half well in Turkey by all accounts, but he played very well, I thought, on Saturday. But you look at who was available, and you know we're going to have to sit deep against Liverpool. So you can kind of discount all the attacking options in midfield. You discount your Willocks and your Smith Rowes, and then you look at who's available, and he was the only one. It was the obvious pick. It was the only pick. Like I said, the back five, he's going to go play back five, and then he needs two midfielders that are going to come deep and will keep the ball around the edge of the box. Maybe the passes they have to play might only be simple. Get the ball in your edge of your own box, give it back to the keeper, or give it back to the centre back. But you might be under pressure, so you just got to be comfortable playing them 5-yard balls. And you look at who's available. As I said, Willock ain't going to be that deep. Smith Rowe's not that type of player. And that was it. The only other option which I even considered before the game was that Kolasinac maybe played wing back and Ainsley went into the middle, but Ainsley's been so strong out wide and he's so good defensively 1v1. If he's got someone to play directly against, like you say to him, Salah is your problem today. Ainsley's so good at that, and then also running in behind because of his pace that you can't. I mean, I wouldn't play Kolasinac there ahead of him. So for me, Elneny was probably the only option. Like when you look at it like that, but then you come back into potentially in a few weeks when we've got all the players back from various internationals and players that have been sold and players that have come in, and then you go, he goes back down to fifth choice or sixth choice, and then you go, there's not really a place for him. You might as well get him off the wage bill.
Mm-hmm. You agree with all that, Jack?
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, one thing that I would say I took from the game for enough is that for a player who is as basic as Elneny as well, it's not just a case that we were kind of forced to play it, but I was quite surprised by how well he played. I mean, that's got to be, without a doubt, his best game he's ever played for the club. I mean, I get it's a Community Shield, but it just shows again how Arteta can turn not in any disrespect to Elneny, but a very bang average, mediocre footballer into having a game like that and following the system. But in terms of him, I'd get rid of him because there's no point clogging up our already loaded limit of non-homegrown players that we're allowed to have. So what's the point in keeping a player that's going to be sixth option where we could have a younger player who doesn't need to fill up those numbers? Because if we don't start shedding players soon, we're not going to be able to bring anyone in and submit them into a squad because we physically won't have the space. So I would 100% push him out.
Is Guendouzi? Where's Guendouzi?
No,
Man, I hate him.
Yeah,
I get that, but like, I just thought if it was going to be a time to play for Guendouzi to get back into the squad, that was the game.
He's never going to play.
He's done.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure if he was part of the quarantine thing. A lot of the players didn't come back till yesterday because not quarantine, it's just when they came back. So, I mean, Pepe, Lacazette, Ozil. I mean, Ozil missed out for other reasons, but the official given reason is Pepe, Ozil, Lacazette, and a couple of others. I can't remember who else were not back in training until yesterday, due to various quarantine rules and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, that might be the excuse of Guendouzi, but it is just that excuse. He's not. And then the thing, I know people are going to say, Arteta came out in his press conference and said it's a blank slate, everyone's got the same chance. I mean, he has to say that. He's not going to come out and go, the kid's shit, I don't want it for it. Because then the value goes. I mean, we're already, the fees we're hearing teams are offering for him are already bordering on taking the piss as they are. And now if you suddenly say, you don't want him, he's a drain on our wage bill, it becomes even less.
It's
also
go, Joe.
It's to add to that. I mean, Ornstein put a tweet out. I think it was Ornstein earlier, and we was talking about Socrates, and they were saying that we're not willing to let Socrates go for nothing, and we've told Napoli that we'd even happily give him a new contract. And it feels as though that a lot of these stories are fabrications to try and boost our negotiation power, because every club can see that we need to shed players off the wage bill and shed players off the quota. and they can see the fact that they're not wanted. So obviously people are making offers which are taking the piss for these players. And the comments that Arteta said about Guendouzi, as Tony said, it has to only, to me, mean that we're trying to get a couple of extra quid for him, because there's no way I can see him turning back. And I understand people may have suggested that with Xhaka, but what Guendouzi's done and how he's gone about it with the dressing room there's no way back for that. And if he was to come back, all it would do was show Arteta as a weak man and not a strong, capable leader. So that he will. I mean, I can't see any way of him getting anywhere near this team again, let alone inside the stadium.
My biggest problem here is fuck, I'd hate to go to a poker table with fucking Arsenal, like dead set. Guendouzi's on the outer. We all know that. What I hate about that is we all shouldn't know that. Arsenal Fan Circle channel, he's just commented, got to get a decent deal for Guendouzi. And I agree, we have to get a decent deal for Guendouzi. But when everyone knows that, hey, he's not getting back in the Arsenal team, why are they going to be offering big money? Because you got to get rid of him. So you don't want him there. It's just, it's ludicrous. It's like Ozil, and that's another player that obviously he's gone full circle. He's there, he's not there, he's there again, and he's not there again. And we're still paying this supposedly $350K a week for this bloke. I don't know. Do we want him? Do we don't want him? Like, what the fuck?
It doesn't make a difference because no one would pay a fee for him regardless, whether we want him or not. And this is not me being negative against Ozil, because I'm not. But
yeah,
you can tell the world whatever you want. You can say we're never going to play him again. He's going to sit at home. He's not even going to come in. He's not a footballer this year. It doesn't affect his fee because the fee is zero. Whether he's the happiest man on earth and plays every minute of every game, or whether he stays at home looking after his missus, his transfer fee is zero.
It doesn't matter with him. But Guendouzi, on the other hand, like you'd think you'd type of keep that card to your chest because
it's difficult because he's obviously done stuff behind the scenes that's pissed everyone off. So then you have to drop him. But then you have to drop him. So you can't show your own weakness and bring him in. And then obviously we had 10 to 15 games at the end of the season where he wasn't in the squad. So then it becomes obvious. The only way he could hide that was by putting him in the squad. But then the manager looks weak. Like, for all we know, behind the scenes, Guendouzi said to him, "You're a shit manager. You're too young. You don't know what you're doing." So Arteta's gone, "Oh, fuck you, stay at home." And then now everyone's going, "Oh, it's weak," because now everyone knows we're in a weak position. But the alternative is, okay, yeah, come along, mate. You've just called me a complete prick. Said my hair looks like Lego, but I have to put you in the squad, so it saves our transfer fee. And then the rest of the players now lose respect for Arteta.
One thing that I also just want,
it's not. There's nothing you can do about it. And we've seen it time and time again. I mean, United done it with Beckham, with Van Nistelrooy, with Stam. I mean, well, I say United, Ferguson. We've seen it so many times where players have forced to move out, or there's been a disagreement, and they'll end up. I mean, Ashley Cole's a prime example. Got $5 million in Gallas for him because he made it clear that he wanted out. It's an unfortunate situation that you can try and avoid, but when there was so long left in the season, as there was with Guendouzi, there's nothing you can do about it.
Tony, let me ask you this, okay? On the basis that last summer we were rumoured to have been offered around 50-60 million euros from PSG for Guendouzi, obviously taking into account everything that's happened, how much do you reckon we should be looking to get from him?
To be honest, I don't think he was worth that then, and it was a rumour, not an offer that came in because PSG were ironically low on their homegrown quota. I don't know if it's the same quota as in England, but I know they were struggling, and they saw it as a young guy who they could mould, who could potentially be worth that. But it was never an offer was never made. I think I don't rate him, which makes this difficult because for me he's a 25 to 30 million pound player, and I know the comments are now going to explode with people calling me a cunt, which is fair enough. I probably am. But for me, the argument him falling out with the club doesn't really take away much of that value because he's young. 2 years left is a bit of a dicey issue. But I think I'd take 25 now, to be honest. I think that'd be a good deal for all involved, to be honest.
Did we only see him to sign him on a 4-year contract?
I read the other day he's only got 2 years left, so I assume it must have been a 4-year. You remember he was young, so they probably young and untried, untested, so they didn't want to tie him down to a long term. I could be wrong, but I did read the other day it was 2 years left.
I don't know. I just would have been surprised when he was doing so well in his first season. I'm surprised they didn't sort an extension out if it was only a 4-year deal after he showed that potential.
Depends what financial situation was like at the time, I guess.
Can't imagine doing that much though.
Yeah, look,
We
at
actually
the
know
end
we
of
know
the
it's
day,
50.
at the end of the day, we're going to make money on a Guendouzi. But the Ozil situation, and a couple of people have made comments. Robert said exactly the same as Bale. Trying to think what he means by that. But,
Well, Bale's same situation.
yeah.
He's on
Oh,
stupid
at the
money.
moment, yeah, okay, yeah. I just don't know what you do, and there's people above us that fucking have that headache, which is good. But yeah, Guendouzi, 25 to 30 mil. I'd probably take that as well, Tony. You kind of have to. So.
Sorry, I've just checked Transfer Market, which I know is not the most accurate, but you can use it as a base point, and it says he's got 2 years left.
Yeah, okay. One other player I know I've got a schedule here that I was going to stick with, but because we are talking players as well, so we're just going into outings a little bit, I guess. Mkhitaryan, you did touch on it, Jack. I said in the chat, I thought it was strange. And yes, those who know me, yes, I am a Roma fan. Yes, I'm happy with the deal. Yes, I'm glad. It didn't cost us a fortune for Roma. On the other hand, I'm like, Arsenal, what the fuck is going on? Like, why wouldn't you get 10 mil or something? But then one of the boys commented that, hey, yeah, but Tez, your wages and all this and that, it probably works out pretty good, which I get that, totally understand. But still, if you've got something, wouldn't you want something for it?
I mean, to be fair, there was reports last year, correct me if I'm wrong, Tony, that in his contract, if he was to stay a certain amount of years, then he would go up to 190 or 200 grand a week or something ridiculous, but because of like a loyalty thing.
There's an extension. An extension.
Yeah, something along those lines. And that, I mean, I think that's a prime reason that we let him go for nothing. I mean, unlike other players that obviously we could have probably got 10, 15 million for him, but when you're on those sorts of wages, that to get a club like Roma to pay them all, you can't really expect them to pay a transfer fee, especially at the moment when, in fact, we're obviously in the midst of the financial impact of the pandemic. And for Mkhitaryan, I think a free transfer was probably the most realistic option in a similar way to how it would be if Ozil was to leave us. It's the same issue with the amount of wages that they're on.
I get where you're coming from, but look, what I'm trying to get into a little bit is, Raul left, and it was talk about over these little deals that he done, and Pepe was one that come out. They said he paid too much. Last year, Mkhitaryan went on loan to Roma, and I'll put the Arsenal hat on for a minute, right? Last year, he went on loan. Would you not think at that point to put obligation to buy after the loan, or to get something back for the club? For me, I think it was a bit of a shit deal.
I feel like the time that he left us, because I remember, I think he played a game for us in the league that last season as well. I think when
10 minutes.
I think when he played, I think it was getting towards the stage of the window where we needed to sort out our finances, and I think it was very much a case where let's quickly get the deals done to get this off the wage bill for the year. But one thing that was about Pepe with Sinelli is that the club have actually formally denied that there's any truth in the Pepe story, which I just wanted to point out.
Yeah, okay. Tony, your thoughts on it all? Mkhitaryan, you happy with that deal?
Yeah, I mean, it saved us about 9 million quid for a guy that was not going to play. And the only other option, the only other way you'd have got him out the door was on another loan, and Roma would have paid probably 50% of his wages again. So this way, you've saved 50% of the wages. For me, I think it's a good deal for all involved. Roma will keep the wages low, but pay him a signing-on fee. Arsenal get probably, I think it was about 8.5 million, 9 million off the wage bill. I think it's a win for everyone.
No, okay. No, fair call. A couple of the boys have just commenting here. What about El Neni? Who was that? Jalel, I think it is. Sorry, mate, if I fucked that name up. But He reckons it'd bring in a bit of coin. We did touch on El Neni quickly over, just before about he played a good game, but I still don't think, he's bringing in your 20 to 30 mil. El Neni, he's around your 10 to 15, maybe, Tony.
I would say 5 to 8, 4 to 8 would be my guess.
Yeah, okay. Jack, thought there, mate.
Yeah, about the same, but then he's on a long contract, isn't he? Because he signed a 5-year deal, I think, when Emery came. So he's still got, I'd say, 3 years left on the deal. You could, depending on the financial position of the club, you could.
The thing is, I think he's likely to go to Turkey, and the fees aren't big. So I think 4 at the bottom end, and depending on how much we want him off the wage bill and want to get rid of him, if he becomes 5th, 6th choice, you're probably looking at 4. If we have a little bit of resistance and 2 or 3 Turkish clubs want to go for him, you're looking more towards the 7s and 8s. But I don't think length of his contract and whatnot comes into it, especially if we need the space in the squad.
Okay, well, as I said, we have gone up into outings. We just thought it went that way.
Just before you say that again, because it's pissing me off, it's outgoings. Outings is like if we're going camping.
Mate, I'm fucking Aussie, mate. We shorten everything, mate. Everything's shortened.
No,
you pommy cunts. Outgoings. You got to add that extra bit onto it to fuck your language up. Yeah. Outings.
But it's not a fucking Jolly Boys outing, is it? We're not going off to the seaside.
To be fair, I mean, it could be an outing for Oneni to move to Turkey.
It's a picnic. We'll call it a picnic. It's going out. He's going outings. Okay. Outgoings then. Fuck! I got fucking tongue twisted saying that. Rob Holding, Newcastle United. Thoughts there, Tony?
Again, good deal. Presuming he will start the majority of games. They're quite a solid defensive team, so he won't be stretched too far, which hopefully won't highlight his slight lack of pace. And he should get a lot of minutes, which is what he needs. I mean, I'm one of them. I still believe there's a player in Rob Holding, and is he Arsenal level at the moment? I don't think so. I believe he could be, and I know not a lot of people agree with that, but his value isn't really going to go down. So you send him out on loan, you get him a year's experience, which he's never actually had, because the season he was really good, he came in at the end of the season, and then he played the start of the next season and broke his knee, and then he's never really been back from that. So hopefully you get him a full season. If he does really well, you can bring him back. If he does really well, but you feel you don't need him, his value goes up. And if he doesn't do well, his value isn't going to go too far down for a year of gaining experience. So for me, I think it's a good deal for all involved.
What about a loan?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Okay. I was fucking reading shit. I got no idea what I'm moving on about. Jack, thoughts?
I actually agree with Tony. I think there is a player in Rob Holding. I think he's very composed on the ball, and I think even against Liverpool he showed that. But I think a loan would be good for him to get that game time. I mean, he'll play every week at St James's Park, but I don't think we should put any option to buy in there. I think we should give them a bit similar to Bios, with us an option to negotiate, because if he has an amazing season, then we can choose to bring him back. And then if he has an amazing season, we haven't agreed a stupidly low fee for him, where for all you know, he could be one of the best centre-backs in the league and be worth 40 million. You never know how he's going to perform when he's playing regularly.
I was saying this to someone earlier. Options to buy are the most nonsense thing in football. They're ridiculous. Like, for all the reasons.
Okay. Explain explain option to buy. What's that do for the club and the player?
So an option to buy is you set a price now when they go on loan and say, if you want him at the end of the season, you can have him for, say, 20 million. So then if he, as Jack said, if he goes and plays amazing and everyone now thinks he's worth 40 million, Newcastle go, fantastic, we can get him for 20 million. We've got him. If he's shite and stinks the place out, Newcastle go, we don't want your shit. Take him back. You lose either way. So people always, I see whenever loans happen, people go, oh, what about an option? What about an option? I think they're fucking nonsense. Like, no one wins, or there's certainly a loser.
They're good for the obviously it's not a buying club, but for the buying club, it's good for them because they could get a great deal. But for the actual club,
yeah, but in saying that, Yeah, but Mkhitaryan would have been good for Arsenal with an option to buy.
Why?
I would have got 15, 20, I don't know.
No,
Something.
you would have, because
They-
is he worth 20 million and 180 grand a week? No, he's not. There you go. Arsenal have him back.
I think he would have been last year.
There's no way
Force
Roma
us
would
to
have. I
negotiate.
mean, they didn't want if they could have made an offer for him and they didn't. There's no way anyone would have paid money for him with a year left on them wages. Options, they're nonsense. I don't. I can as Jack said, I can understand buying clubs trying to put them in. I don't understand why any selling club ever agrees to them.
Rob Holding, who was the next one? Bellerin, PSG, apparently very strongly are looking at coming in for Hector Bellerin. He's been at the club for a long time now, 8 years, I think it is. We spoke about him last week on the pod. I can't remember one fucking word that we spoke about him. Did we talk about price? Tony, what are we looking at here for a Hector Bellerin?
I mean, we all know that the offer's 25 and 5 in bonuses. Obviously, we don't know how realistic them bonuses are, but with PSG, you're going to have to say that most bonuses are realistic. I mean, if there's one for winning the league, you know that's almost a guarantee. Champions League, obviously, we've just seen them get to the final and we expect them to strengthen. But it's difficult with Hector because I'd say around that 30-ish, but then I know people that think that's ludicrous and we should be looking at 60s. I mean, where's the comparison? It's difficult. He's had so many injuries, and people might say, "Oh, but they're one-offs." But you can't keep having one-offs. When you know what I mean? When something happens a lot, it's not a one-off anymore. So, he's had a lot of injuries. He's had a lot of time out of form, and you're not. I think people are valuing him at the best Hector we've ever seen, and he's not that anymore. He might go on to be that again, but that's not his price now. His price is now someone who has potential to be very good, is very good on occasion, is not very good a lot, can't really cross. Defensively, he's a little bit suspect, tries hard. For me, around the 30, I mean, the rumours are that they've offered 25 and 5. We want 35, and they're probably going to meet somewhere in the middle. I think us accepting a 30 guarantee is probably a touch low. But then I don't think it's that low that you reject it.
Ray says 25 for Bellerin. Jack?
Well, I mean, they've already rejected that, so.
Yeah.
So this is how I look at Bellerin. If you look at how Hector has been performing over the last 2 years, I mean, under Emery, for the first 6 months or so until he got injured, his numbers were incredible. He obviously then got the big injury, and then when he's come back, he hasn't been that player. But then towards the end of the restart, and after some good time with Arteta, I think we're starting to see glimpses of that Bellerin again. And if I got to be honest with you, not only I really rate Bellerin, but I mean, not only that, but if you look at the impact he has in the dressing room and his influence and everything alone, and how long he's been at the club for, and what we know he can be like, and how he has been improving under Mikel, I personally wouldn't sell him. I mean, unless we got a really good offer. I mean, I understand that that we could use the money to push on for, let's say, an hour or Partey and stuff like that, but we can find other ways to afford them when we have a potential for a top quality right back here. And I think when he's playing consistently, we do see what's best from him. And I think I would rather keep him and give him a new deal, as Ornstein says the other option is. But I just don't like the idea of selling him because people love Ainsley, and Ainsley has proven me wrong. However, do I think he's good enough to be a starting right back week in, week out for us? No, I don't, because he still does have those mistakes in him. And we have seen them under Emery when he was playing so much, doing so well. He then would pull an absolute shocker. And I think I'd rather have a good top quality right back there to have as well as him, rather than if Ainsley isn't playing well, then we've only got Cedric, because then we could really be in trouble, because especially the way we play, we do rely on our fullbacks quite a lot. So unless the offer was substantial and we had a good right back backup lined up, I personally wouldn't sell. But monetary wise, I mean, personally, I think he's worth 35 to 40. I've been thinking about it a lot since we spoke about it last week. And yeah, he's got a good amount of time contract left as it is. Yeah. I think
my only problem is here, my worry is here, and you touched on a little bit, is Maitland-Niles is there is rumour he was going. There was a strong rumour Wolves. I don't know if that's gone quiet or not, or what's happened there. Then in this week you see Bellerin, and I'm sitting there thinking, okay, the rumour was 20 for Maitland-Niles, which I think is not a bad deal. 25 for Hector, but then you got to buy someone.
I mean, what Ornstein said in his tweet today was that that we want to keep 80 now. We're looking at giving him and I think Martinez new deals. And then I think it's a case where any of our players who have a good value to them, I think we're just testing the waters and seeing who we could get rid of for what, to see how we could further strengthen the squad. And I think that's the only reason we're entertaining bids and players clubs are sniffing around. I think it's just a matter of clubs because of the pandemic and seeing what deals are around and just hovering around and seeing, because it looks now that Ainsley is going to stay. I mean, I don't know if that's just based on the performance on the weekend, which I strongly doubt. But I mean, we've seen so many reports, different players who have been performing well, comment like flourish, and kind of just appear out of nowhere, and they kind of seem to just as quickly as Sky Sports can say that Maitland-Niles has agreed a deal to Wolves. Next thing you know, we're looking to keep him, because as I said, I just think we're trying to test the water and see what we can do to earn a bit more money to further enhance the squad. And I don't think there's a problem in that, but I would rather keep the more experienced players who know the club and have that winning mentality at the club than anything else. So, yeah.
Well, let's face it, and a couple of the boys have said in the chat, I'm just, Arsenal fan circle said, I'm just wondering who gets sold to raise the cash. And Ray, I have to agree, mate. Torreira, Elneny, Kolasinac, Socrates, and he's saying possibly Lacazette. So, Lacazette will probably fetch you 30 to 40 mil, I guess. And you know, them players do raise a bit of cash as well, Tony.
Yeah, I mean, I think for Torreira, you're looking mid-20s. Elneny, Kolasinac and Socrates, I think you'll do well to get 15 million combined for the three of them, to be honest. Obviously, you've got Guendouzi, who we spoke about before. And then if you need some more on top of that, Lacazette, the issue of selling Lacazette is you have to replace him. I'm not saying I don't see him going, but when you're talking about raising money for our current targets, if you're talking about Partey and Aouar and whoever else we've been linked with, I don't see Lacazette coming into that equation. The only time I see Lacazette coming into it is if we think say, for example, Edouard from Celtic or the Dembele from Lyon or any other striker, if they go, oh, well, he's a better long-term option than Lacazette, then I think it'll be one in, one out. I don't really factor in Lacazette money for other targets.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Rather than replacing Lacazette if he was to go, another thing that could make sense, but it's risky, is to say that you push Gabby and to the strikers. So you've got Auba, Gabby, and Eddie as your strikers, and then essentially on the left we've only got Willian, who could either play there or in attacking midfield, and Saka. And on that situation, maybe sell Lacazette and sign a quality left winger. Let's say for example, a Benrahma from Brentford or a Wilfred Zaha. And then you've got that added player on the left with depth, especially for the amount of competitions we're in.
That question's gone about a lot, mainly with Zaha as the option, but he's still Eddie's not good enough. I really want him to be, but he's just, at the moment he's not, and I personally don't think he ever will be. I'd love to be proved wrong, but at the moment I don't think he will be. And Gabby's injured, so if you're going with Aubameyang starting in the middle and he gets sent off or injured in the first week, and then you've got Eddie for a prolonged period of games. I mean, we got half lucky in that Gabby was still fit when Aubameyang got suspended, and we still didn't win any of the games. And that was under Arteta. Well, we won an FA Cup game, but it wasn't the first team. We didn't play first team anyway. We won away at Bournemouth. And then when, obviously, the next suspension, it was Eddie, so you didn't miss it as much. But I think you can't go into a season with it. I wouldn't mind so much if Gabby wasn't injured, but the fact is he is, and they reckon he's not going to be back to the new year, which means he's probably not back properly till February, as in back fit and firing. Because also, if he comes back January, there's only that one FA Cup game in the first week of January, and then there's no Europe till the end of February. The cup will be in the semi-finals, so you can't bring a player back to fitness then, even if we're in it, the Carabao Cup. So for me, you can't go into a season with Eddie as your backup for potential.
What if we went for let's say 20 million on someone like Benrahma, who's a very good, got a great level of end product winger, and then also bring in, let's say, a young up and coming striker for the other 20 million, like on the notion that we get 40 to 50 for Laka. So I mean, you could go that route. But...
I don't think you get 40 for him, and then you're also how much are you stamping on the careers of if Eddie is ever good enough. If obviously when Gabby comes back, and then potentially Saka if you're getting another left winger. I also don't think Benrahma will go for 20. I think it'll be nearer 30 because there'll be a lot of clubs interested in it. I think him and Watkins will probably get over 50 combined for Brentford.
I mean, there were quite a few reports coming out of Algeria that we've gone back in there, but I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, there was a report yesterday saying we'd from some account somewhere. I'm sorry, I don't even look who says stuff on Twitter anymore because it's almost pointless.
They're popping up all over the place.
Really?
Oh, it's fucking classic old Twitter. Okay, boys, 40 minutes now into this podcast, and we haven't mentioned that we fucking signed a new player. It was confirmed last night, my time. Today for you, Tony. Gabriel, he's an Arsenal player.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they teased it very early in the day, saying, "Oh, we've got a video call with Willian, David Luiz, and another Brazilian," and there was is it the physio? Is it the potential new physio that we've been linked with from PSG? Is it obviously Gabriel? And to be honest, I said in the group chat, I know people were having, it might be Edu, it might be Gilberto Silva, but all of the teasing has come from the Arsenal Twitter admin, who's obviously got a bit of a license to have a bit of a laugh. He can't say anything ridiculous, obviously, but he can manage it. He's got some parameters he can work with. There's not been actual teasing like directly from the club where they've said, "Oh, we're going to have this video call at 4 p.m. Everyone tune in." So for me, I expected it, and then it hit me after because someone messaged me after about something else. Season ticket renewals are out tomorrow. Arsenal always, without fail, either announce a signing, announce a new contract, or announce they're really close to a player that people are interested in. So I think the 100 million bid for Mbappe came out the day before the season ticket renewals. It's like within the people that have season tickets, it's like a running joke. Like if we ever get linked with someone, they'll go, season ticket renewals are tomorrow or coming out soon. So when I realised that, I thought it was going to be him anyway, but that just made it like, logical.
Cemented it for you. Jack, thoughts on Gabriel, mate?
I think it's an excellent signing. I mean, I think now that if you look at our defence, we've gone from an ageing, struggling, basically a pack of them, to arguably one of the best up-and-coming young French centre-backs in Saliba, another solid up-and-coming centre-back in Gabriel, both who have been highly, highly rated in Liga. And then obviously we've got Kieran Tierney, who, and I'm not going to try and jinx it here, but I genuinely think this season you will see him be a better left-back than Robertson, because I think Kieran Tierney is incredible. And if you put those together, we've gone from our shambles at the back to having what could be, please God, one of the best defense player sets in the league. Hope so long as they progress the way that their potential's kind of showing. The announcement, though, I mean, on the talk that he's obviously in quarantine and everything, the fact that they've done the announcement on Zoom, I mean, it would have felt a bit better if they did a proper photo shoot and waited. He's a week and a half into this alleged quarantine, or a week in. And it's ridiculous that it was only a Zoom call that was going to be the announcement, because they have kept us going for a long bloody time. But then again, they also have with Aubameyang. I mean, I'm surprised that personally, when I saw the hint about Maguires, I thought they'd announce Aubameyang today just because of that, and also because, as Tony said, the season ticket renewals. But just lastly, people were joking, as Tony said, about like the Brazilian physio, but I can't remember who tweeted it, but someone wrote, I found it really funny that we're going to be signing the tea lady from Corinthians. And it just made me laugh because it's so typical from the Arsenal admin to do something stupid like that. Obviously, not to that extent, but just to wind us all up. But thankfully, it's all done, and there doesn't need to be any more anxiety about people saying the deal's fallen through. And also, it's made that Gerbil account look like a right twat, because he was saying that he's got a knee issue and there's an issue in the signing, and that's clearly a load of bullshit.
Yeah, look, I'm happy that the Arsenal admin Twitter have actually got a sense of humour, because when you look at and Roma, the admin on Twitter there, he's whoever it is, they're awesome, and there's a lot of German teams as well. They're right up there. So I was actually glad to see Arsenal get amongst it, with the admin there and drop a couple of hints and a bit of fuck around and laugh and whatnot. So, my YouTube's been going flat strap this morning with Gabriel because I be honest, I don't watch French League and I don't watch much of Lily. So I knew who this kid was, but I don't know much about him. So quick little bit of research and homework. I'm happy. I'm very happy, and I'm excited that, even if I didn't watch it, to be honest, I was still happy. But to see Saliba, Gabriel, we've got Tierney. I'm excited for the season because we're addressing that fucking defense. The Mustafi, Socrates, and that shit that just every fucking time a goal goes, you think, fuck that cunt again. So these young blokes, 21, 22, they're going to be the future of our club for a hell of a long time. Lots of strong rumours of Partey. I hope we get him, I guess. Coutinho, he's another one that I'm excited because I think, he gives that other dimension that we're looking for. And I'm excited for what Arteta's doing. And I'm glad that the board have actually allowed him to grab a few of these players that he's obviously wanted. So whether it was an Arteta signing or an Edu signing, I don't really know. But it's exciting. It's exciting to look for next season in the future. So
one thing that it says to me as well is that it's the second year running now where we've signed one of the most sought-after players in Europe and we've beaten all the competition we have. I mean, it's quite impressive, the stuff that Maguires has come out and said about why he wants to join the club and how Arteta was crucial to it. Obviously, making the point about our fan base on Twitter, which I found a bit funny. But the fact that the reports were coming out that he rejected quite a large additional sum of money from United per week to choose Arsenal just shows that the pool we have as a club. I mean, obviously with Pepe last year is another example where you've got some of the biggest teams in Europe fighting with the players, and it's not exactly like we're firing at the moment. I mean, obviously we won the FA Cup, but we're still an 8th place team in the Premier League, and these big players are still very attracted to Arsenal. I mean, you see the reports with Partey as well. I mean, saying that he only wants Arsenal or he'll stay at Atletico. I mean, Partey is one of the best midfielders in Europe at the moment. And the fact that he wants to join an 8th place team in the Premier League shows that the ambition of the club is significant. And I think they really are now, thanks to Arteta, taking it seriously to push us back to the top, because it's quite amazing that we're able to do this.
Well, I think we're a project now, aren't we? The Arsenal of the last, do we say, decade has been pretty fucking shit. And it's on a downward spiral. So I don't know. I'm just thinking, maybe I'm a little bit biased, but if I'm a player, I'm thinking, hey, these guys are doing something. They're on the up. I want to get on board with that. So it can't be money. It can't be money because we're probably offering less. We're not in the Champions League, so it's a project, I guess. Yeah. Tony, anything else onto that, mate?
No, I think you've covered it all. The only thing, I mean, we're probably going to come into this in other questions, but I'm getting more and more convinced every week that we're going to stay with a back five. And he can obviously slot in on the left. KT goes to left wing back. I think David Luiz still starts in the middle. But yeah, so I mean, I see him slotting in slightly differently to how most people do, but I think he'll get up and running in the team pretty quick, because especially if Hector goes. I mean, as of right now, you've got, and you assume obviously he's not going to be fit for the first game of the season. Gabriel's not going to be ready, for the first game of the season. You go Luiz, middle of the back three, KT left of the back three, and then Ainsley at left wing back. If Hector goes, you've either got to drift Cedric in, which is obviously the easy option, or then you can move KT to left wing back, Gabriel comes in at left centre back, and Ains goes to right wing back. But yeah, just every week I'm getting more and more convinced that we're going to stay with a back five. Because especially the way we played against Liverpool, I mean, I wouldn't even, at times, it wasn't a back five. Ainsley was so far forward and drifting pretty much wherever he wanted. Like, there was times I remember BT actually pointed it out on commentary. I think it was a goal kick, or we had the ball at the back anyway. And Tierney was on the touchline. So, and Ains was infield and quite a bit infield as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he'll line up how we've seen him, and you can class it as a back five. But when we have a lot of the ball, Ains moves into the midfield, and we overload it. So it's weird because you've got the back five to play out, and you've got the extra bodies there. But then when the ball goes into the middle, you've also got the extra bodies there. So yeah, I mean, as I said, I'm more and more convinced every week that we're going to play a back five.
I feel like we have this debate every week, but personally, I think who we're even linked with, I think shows that he wants to move to a 4-3-3. Because I mean, you can't play, let's say, Partey and Aouar if that was to happen as two midfielders. In my opinion, you play them in a 3 with Xhaka behind them, or Ceballos.
Yeah,
or you put Ceballos in there.
We've got Danny. So look, I was talking. Who was I talking to earlier? And they were basically saying this. And I was like, Danny ain't come to sit on the bench. He done that at the start of last year, and you remember. I mean, obviously we're going on reports, but essentially, from what we're told, threw his toys out the pram and tried to go back in January because he weren't getting played.
Okay, so let's move on now. We're talking Ceballos. It's obviously pretty much all but confirmed, isn't it? He's coming back on loan.
Yeah, I mean, he posted the little thing on Instagram, and then all journalists pretty much at the same time. That's as far as fans we can say it's going to happen. Obviously, it is when all the key respected journalists say it at the same time. It's usually because it's true.
So Ceballos come back again. Does that rule out this so-called, and I'll quote some people on Twitter. There's a bloke by the name of the Bell or AFC Bell who is absolutely adamant that Partey is coming. And Tony, we've discussed the ITKs before, and you know, you've mentioned that sometimes they rise with the fact that they know something on the inside of that one player, but when they start talking shit about 6 players, well, you tend to go, well, you know, is he talking shit again? But this he's adamant Partey is coming. Like, I've looked at his tweets and he is fucking, I don't know whether he knows something or what, but does a Ceballos signing back for Arsenal, does that rule out that?
I don't think it makes a difference to Partey because they're completely different players. It's a weird one because he's not a direct comparison with either. The two we're strongly linked with are obviously Partey and Aouar, and we're not. He's not in direct competition stylistically with either of them. We know where he fits in this current system, especially against better teams. Against the worst teams, which is where our problem is, because we can't break them down. I was saying in the group chat yesterday that since the restart, we didn't actually break any team down without them like handing us. So the first goal against Southampton was when Eddie closed down the keeper. The first goal against Norwich was when Aubameyang closed down the keeper. And the game's a different game at 1-0. Before that, we struggled to break down West Ham. The only team, I think, since March that we actually broke down by going at them and trying to win the game rather than counter-attacking was Brighton. And obviously we ended up losing the game, but we scored while they were still sitting in and parking the bus. So I don't think Danny answers that. I rate him and I'm happy he's back because he is useful and he holds the ball well. But for me, the problem is how are we going to break down them teams? And that's where someone like an Aouar is such a key. Maybe not him in person, but stylistically, for me that's the major must-have signing. And I don't think we're going to do it. And then I think Arteta's got a bit of a problem, or he's going to use William there, which is more likely.
Well, if I got to be honest, I don't see how Ceballos coming back kind of affects either of the two rumoured incomings, because if you look at it, let's say on paper we have our midfielders are Aouar, Partey, Xhaka, Ceballos, and then obviously you can play Willian in the midfield, you can play a numerous amount of players. That's a very, very strong midfield from one that wasn't strong at all this season. I mean, it's a massive increase, and it's positive. I mean, but I think we need to have enough players that we can kind of field as just a stronger team each week, no matter if we pick up an injury or two. Because if we want to compete and challenge, which we are building a squad to do, you need to have that depth. I mean, look at City. I mean, what Arteta came from is a system where you essentially can more or less change the entire team each week, and the actual level of output and your quality hasn't been affected. And I think if we can afford to do it, which I don't see what I think we can, then I do think we'll go for it. And I think if we couldn't get our, then I think one thing that I could see us doing because of the connection and because we need that creative players, I could see us going back in for someone like Coutinho, because we do need that player. And Ceballos, nor Partey, nor Xhaka can really play as that number 10. And then you're relying on Willian, who, yes, he's good down the middle, but realistically, he'll be better for us on the left wing. So I don't think it'll affect it. And I think if we can get all of them done, I think it completely transforms our team to another level.
I think the joy of the Danny deal is it's so fucking cheap. Like, it's almost like you have to do it. By all accounts, we've negotiated no fee, but we're going to cover his whole wages. He's not on that much money from what is being reported and what I've read.
£1,000 a week?
Huh?
Was he on around 60? Or was that completely wrong?
I read 52, I think it was, in the 50s. It might have been 59. I think it was 60,000 euros and then whatever the exchange rate was that day. So, I mean, when you're talking first team players that are playing in Europe, that's nothing. And then you're not paying a loan fee. For me, I think you can't turn that down. So it's one of them. It's like, where does he fit in if we get everything we're reported to want to get? But I don't know. But at that price, you also can't turn it down.
You boys watch much French league?
Sometimes.
Look, I watched Lyon in the Champions League, and I just wonder this. What's his name? Iowa.
I mean, you're not going to be able to say anyway.
Well, I've got no chance, right? But are we basing his brilliance on that one game in the Champions League, or is this bloke pretty good?
He's been fantastic all season.
Before that.
Okay. No, I just because I often watch the trend of Arsenal fans when you do see a player come out of the, and they're brilliant in the Champions League, and all of a sudden we're linked to him. It just seems like, hey, he's the best thing ever. So that's the only reason I ask.
Interestingly, obviously I was at Lyon and coming out of Lyon as well today, is that our former midfielder Jeffrey Adelaide, who has basically come out and said that he hasn't played as much as he was promised, and that if that doesn't change, he doesn't see his future being there. And obviously they're two quite similar players. And if we weren't able to go, would you go back in for Jeff? Would you think that'd be a good signing? Because he's really come on leaps and bounds since he left us.
No, because I'm not sure he particularly has come on. I just think that he's physical, but here that was normal. Whereas there, someone that can run with a bit of strength is almost unheard of. You either have one or the other. In general, obviously, there's been some spectacular players that have come out of France. I'm not tarnishing the whole league, but in general, you don't have quick and nimble and also strong. I mean, Hazard flew there mainly because he's an exceptional player, but he also has both of them things. You look at him and think he's slight, but he's strong as fuck and he was rapid. And I think that's why Jeff's done so well there. But then I think you bring him back to the Premier League and he just becomes another player. And I assume they'd want quite a bit of money. I think they paid 20 million for him and they don't want to let him go. So I think they want a lot of money, and I don't think he would warrant that. There's rumours I saw as soon as he came out and said he wants to go or whatever. There's rumours linking him with Dortmund, which is actually something I could see.
Well, that would love actually. And just quickly as well, with all these signings, obviously that if you register by a certain date with internationals, then they don't need to quarantine. But are we putting ourselves in a situation here where no matter who comes in from now, for Fulham, at least at the minimum, we're going to be stuck with the Xhaka, Elneny, or Willock in the midfield?
Yeah, I said this the other day.
2 weeks. And
yeah,
no,
really I said it. It's almost certain that Elneny starts against Fulham unless he goes a lot more attacking and starts Emil, Smith Rowe, or Willian or Willock in as one of the two midfielders. I know you just said, and I don't know the answer to this. You just said about the international window. So if we sign them at a certain time, they can come back. Has there actually been anything declared that if you're on international duty, you don't have to quarantine?
I was reading a report this morning about Van der Beek to United, and they were talking on Sky Sports News about the exemption. And what they were saying was, if he's registered a Man United player, I think it's before. So long, basically, he has to be registered as a United player when he's either plays or is in the squad for one of Holland's two international games to be able to grant the exemption.
Yeah,
But
it's
that
mad.
obviously by a certain date. Because if you think about it, the window ends on the 6th of October, and I was having a debate with a group of mates about this, and they were saying it, and I've been thinking about it, and it is a bit worrying. If we, for example, didn't sign Partey until close to the end of the window on the 6th of October, and same even with Aouar, you never know what could happen and stuff could get delayed or whatever. We could be in a situation where we don't have a full strength team till November.
I mean,
And
it's
that's
October.
worrying.
It's October 5th or October 6th. So I mean, you're looking at mid.
You're looking at the last week of October.
Yeah, I mean, I think the rules will change anyway, but it's mad because obviously I think most people who listen regularly know that my second favourite sport is boxing. I watch a hell of a lot of boxing, and they're getting exemptions left, right, and centre. I was listening to an interview today where they were talking about getting exemptions for fights coming up in a couple of weeks, and it's like, as I said it last week, just it winds me up. The scheme is called Elite Athlete Exemption. How the fuck are football clubs not getting this?
I think no, but what I think is boxing has to get it because what are they going to fight? Fucking Tom and Jerry are the fucking same country.
It doesn't have to go ahead with it. There's no crowd, so the government ain't making any fucking tax on it.
Yeah, but with boxing is different because
It's
it is. It's two blokes. Like if some bloke, I don't think anyone can come into Australia. So hence the reason we're getting these fucking shit fights over here. But like, if you got two blokes wanting to fight, well, how's the sport going to progress?
That's what it was. It was stopped from March to basically the last week in July, so it had 4 months off anyway. Why?
Yeah, but they can handle 4 months. They can handle 4 months. I don't think they can handle more.
Of course they can. AJ look at the big names. AJ last fought December, Fury February. Like bigger names, Canelo was November. Loads of them have not fought for over a year. Lomachenko, has he fought since, or the last time was August? I was there, so he's over a year already.
But
what's the UFC doing? What's the UFC doing?
It's all internal, isn't it? I mean, they're all in America anyway because it's the only country it really happens in. They got Fight Island.
With Eddie Hearn's setup that he's embarked on, could you not also say that maybe part of the reason is because they are the way that they've done the bubbles is kind of put a situation where they're not really interacting with anyone else in the public or anyone within the country. They're just staying in their inner circle.
That's the point is, yeah, I mean, he's managed it very well, but it's the same thing. They're still getting the exemptions for them to come. Like, so Povetkin, Russia, 2-week exemption. That's the government rule. He came in 6 days before.
Yeah, fair enough.
So they're saying the reason is 2 weeks is apparently it can take 2 weeks to show symptoms. So you could, if they only done a week, you could come out after a week and then actually have it and infect everyone else. But when they're granting these exemptions, so after Povetkin's finished fighting, he's free. He could have gone down Oxford Street if he wanted and got smashed because he's got this exemption and now his event's over. He's not in the bubble anymore. It's not like they stay in the bubble for an extra week after. It's just the exemption allows them out to fight. It's not that they're free to go after that, after the event's finished. So if you're saying that they can contract it up to 2 weeks and then pass it on, well, then the exemption fucks with that rule completely. I really don't understand, and it's not me hating on boxing because I watch probably as much boxing as I do football. I box every night myself. Like, I don't understand why it is one rule for boxing and probably some other sports, but obviously boxing's the one I watch. But why it's one rule for them and football can't seem to get this rule together.
Yeah, I don't know.
Are they tested and monitored before they fly out as well?
No,
because it could be down towards the fact that they might not have been tested by their previous club properly. Because I think when you go away internationals, they're doing the constant checks.
This is my theory. My theory. I don't know if it's true. My theory behind international duty is that they're gonna say you don't have to quarantine because you've been tested while you're with your national side 2 or 3 times. That is my expectation. I think that's how they're going to get away with it. But then the point remains, if you sign a player from a club, Gabriel may be different because we're not 100% if he was actually going into training or not. But say you sign someone who's been in training with, say, Aouar's a bad example because we know he's got the virus. But say Jeff, he's been training. They're actually playing games. Their season's back. If you go to sign him now, does he not have to quarantine because he's been getting tested 2-3 times a week anyway with Leon?
So then, could it maybe be that Maguire, because other leagues are going back later than us, and obviously the French league's different, but maybe if he wasn't training before with Lille,
no, I
that's
don't
the
know
reason.
Gabriel, but I'm like, so the Spanish league are back training. Everyone's back training at least now. So Rodrigo's having to quarantine for Leeds, but he would have been getting tested with Valencia. So this is what I don't understand. What I presume, and again I don't know this, but the logical answers for how they're going to get away the international break is they're going to say, "Oh, they were getting tested anyway." But then these players are getting tested anyway with their club. It doesn't make any sense to me, to be honest.
I just had a little look at whatever these rules are meant to be, and look, I don't really follow them because I don't live in your country. But those who it's saying here, those who earn exemption by the following the new rules will have to live and work in a controlled bubble environment and must be tested for the coronavirus regularly. People working in the film industry, sporting industries, are required to remain 14 days within the bubble that includes only their accommodation and production. So you're saying that's not even happening?
100% not true. Like, for example, for anyone that watches boxing, Dylan White fought on Saturday. He flew back to Portugal on Monday. Like he done an interview from Portugal 2 days ago. So, and it's only been a week and 4 days. So, I mean, he flew back 2 or 3 days after the fight, he said, but he's definitely back there now, which means it takes it out of the 2 weeks. Like,
what's the controlled bubble like? Because they're saying that like controlled bubble is, e.g., coming from New Zealand because they're pretty fucking strict over there at the moment. So
a bubble is so the way boxing done it is they hired a hotel and only people that are allowed within 10 meters of the ring, I think it was, had to stay in that hotel for a week. So they all got tested on entry. They got locked in their room until they were tested negative, and then they were allowed to mix amongst each other, but no one else. So it was only all of the fighters are in the same hotel and they're using the same part of the restaurant, the same leisure areas, and that was the bubble. But it was a week.
Okay.
It was a week before, and they were free to go after. I mean, some of the guys they had the hotel room booked for the night after the fight. A lot of them didn't even bother use that. They just went straight off.
Just went. Strange. Okay, let's move on because we've been waffling on about bubbles and boxing, and it's an Arsenal fucking podcast. So, not that I don't get me started on boxing though. So that's why I'm changing subject very quickly. Tony, I want to chat with you, or I want you to explain, and we have hashed over it 1,000 times. Homegrown players, and this discussion has come about because obviously we've signed Gabriel. Rob Holding looks like he's heading out. If Bellerin heads out, I guess because he'd class as homegrown. Mate, I'll let you have the floor and explain about the homegrown and what this may mean for Arsenal.
Yeah, I mean, you have to name a 25-man squad with the Premier League. If you're under 21, you don't count as part of that 25. So you're allowed 25 people over 21. Of that 25, 17 can be non-homegrown, and 8 can be homegrown. Homegrown is you're either English by birth, or English or Welsh, or you've been in the country for 3 years before you turn 21. So I counted earlier, and I think I'm right in saying we have 19 at the moment. So we have to get rid of a few to meet the list.
I think it was actually 17 because they put a couple of I think under 21s or something on that list as well.
No, yeah, but the list I done one on Twitter and it was wrong because I included Saliba and
Martinelli,
Gabby.
Yeah.
And who? Yeah, and
Martinelli.
Gabby. Yeah. So that was wrong, but then obviously since then we've had Gabriel and then I counted Ceballos as the 19th. So we've got 19.
Well, yeah, but then if you knock off, hypothetically speaking, Guendouzi, Socrates, Torreira, Kolasinac.
Yeah. So the point is, if we have to sign 2, we have to let go of 4. And I'm not saying it can't happen. That was the point I was coming on to make. That we're 2 over. So to get whatever amount you get in, you have to double it with the amount out, which is obviously completely doable. On the people get worried too much about the homegrown front. It actually doesn't really matter. So you have to name 8, and under 21s don't have to be named. but you can name them if you're struggling to make the 8. It's kind of a waste of space because you could just not name them. But if we're struggling, we could name fucking 8 16-year-olds that no one's ever heard of. So, for example, Saka, Nelson, Smith Rowe, I'm not sure on Willock, I'm not sure if he's 21 yet. They don't have to be named. But if we don't have enough, then they will be named. Because at the moment, we've got Emmy, Hector, Ainsley, Rob Holding, Chambers. I think there's someone else that I'm forgetting. But there's 5.
You just say Bellerin?
Huh?
Who'd you say?
Bellerin.
Who'd you? Bellerin.
Bellerin, Emmy, Chambers, Holding, Maitland-Niles. At 5.
Yeah.
As I said, there's probably some I'm forgetting. But to make up that 8, then you just go, Saka, Nelson, Willock. So it's one of them. You don't have to name them, but if you're struggling, you can name them. So it is. But I think the more issue is
Nketiah's over 21.
Is he? I thought he was 20, but yeah, okay. He comes
Okay.
in, makes it a 6. But yeah, the point is basically if we buy a foreigner, we have to sell 2.
Okay.
And getting rid of Hector doesn't do us any favors in that sense because he comes off the homegrown list. So we've got 19 that doesn't include anyone homegrown, and to buy a foreigner, you have to get rid of 2.
Is Tierney on that list?
Yep,
No.
Tierney is.
Is he? Scotland.
Yeah, it confuses a lot of people because
Okay.
the FA is the Football Association of England and Wales. Obviously, Swansea and Cardiff play in our leagues and our cups. So Welsh counts as homegrown. Scottish doesn't unless they've been here 3 years under the age of 21.
Ray just said Mafropanos was named last year.
Saliba was named last year, even though he couldn't play. Obviously, he was out on loan. They named him because he had to be here 3 years before he turned 21. And by listing him last year, means in 2 years he'll be homegrown.
Okay. No, interesting. Okay, well, that's the homegrown thing. So look, basically, there's nothing to worry about. We're all sweet.
Well, it's just, as I said, it's 1 in 2 out from foreigners.
Yep. Okay. I'm going to get some questions very shortly. I just want to touch quickly on who's the other one? Coutinho. Because we spoke a little bit about that other bloke. I just can't fucking pronounce. Tony, do you think this is still an option? Coutinho?
No, because I think Koeman will want to keep him. He's a Koeman type player.
Yeah. I think I try and get the same thing. Jack?
The only reason why, it depends obviously what Koeman wants, but if they were to lose Messi on this free, which I don't think they will, then they will need to recruit with him money no matter how they can to try and replace him because they are absolutely skint at the moment. But I think it all depends if we can sign
Barcelona's skint, really?
Yeah, they're in so much that it's actually scary.
Really?
They're in significant financial trouble, especially if Messi goes. But I think if Aouar doesn't materialise, if that doesn't happen, then I think we probably would go back in for someone like Coutinho with a loan with an option or an obligation or something along those lines, or even just a straight out loan. Because we need that. We need a creative player. We need a player that can do the job. And if what we've planned for falls through, I presume Coutinho will become our prime target in that position again.
To be honest, when Tez asked the question, I was going to say maybe as a last minute panic buy, sort of in the first week of October, last week of the window. But as I said, I just can't see Barcelona letting him go.
The only panic buy is
loan and an option. But if they want to replace Messi now, they need money. And I know his wages would be crazy for us, but in terms of Barcelona, his wages, I think Griezmann's on about 800k a week. Messi, they're saving more. If Messi goes, they're saving £1 million a week in wages there anyway. So.
Does he come straight in though, or has he got to do this quarantine thing as well? I've got to get my head around this shit.
If it's towards the end of the window, he'd probably come straight in.
Well, it depends. If the rule, as of now, quarantine. But if the rules change, as of now, unless you're in Germany and where's the other place, Portugal, but that'll get added back on this week. Then you basically have to quarantine. Long story short.
So everyone else, okay. Yeah.
And Greece is still free at the moment, but it won't be. That's why pretty much every Premier League player went on holiday to Greece because it meant they could come back the day before training and train. I think Italy is actually on the list as well. So it actually, Italy, I think, still is as of now.
Yeah,
so
isn't Thiago Silva? Didn't he do his medical and isn't he quarantining there ahead of coming to Chelsea?
I don't think he's quarantined. His issue was the work permit. He didn't need the work permit because he was in thing. But I don't think he's done his 2 weeks. I don't think he's even at Chelsea yet. And because it's not, you can't just like go to Italy and then fly here. You have to have not been in the country for the last 2 weeks.
That's what I mean. I thought he was quarantining in Italy. That's why they did the medical and everything there. But fair enough.
Well, I mean, I'm saying if he is, he's not finished it because the Champions League final wasn't 2 weeks ago.
Christ, all right. Feels like ages ago.
Brazil is on the quarantine list, says Ray. You guys can drop your questions now if you want as well. I've got a couple on Twitter to read through, Tony. I'm just trying to look. Craig,
can I just answer Ray quickly? He said, Willian isn't the club on the revealing this morning. I'm almost sure that he said he isn't at the club. I'm not sure because obviously Louise said, have you moved into your new house? And he said, yeah, I'm here now. So I think he's back in the country, but he's not back at the club yet. So he may have came back a week and a half ago, and then he's having to do his 2 weeks quarantine. I don't know 100%.
Yep. Okay. Have you got questions up, Tony?
No, quickly. You were just about to read one from Craig.
I was, and my eyes are going to fucking shit now. I've got to get my glasses. Sorry.
2 seconds.
Fuck.
All that TikTok in.
I think Taz has got to do one of those dances for the clock.
I'll see it.
It's not happening, boys. Fucking come on.
The video of Savage Love the other day.
I heard he did the WAP.
That's a horrible thought. So
fuck off, gun.
Moving on before my head hurt. Craig.
Schwinn was filming it.
Huh?
Schwinn was filming it.
Oh, how's his form? He pops in the chat the other day. I haven't heard from this cunt for fuck knows how long. And he goes,
well, I remember. I think next week we're going to do our season predictions where we're always woefully wrong. Obviously, everyone can leave that in the comments, so we've actually got a thing of them. But Schwinn said he wants to be on that show so he can make himself look like a villain again.
I'll take a seat on that if that's all right.
We'll probably have a few. We'll probably have a few of us in. Addy will probably join.
I fancy my predictions for the year, so I'm quite confident.
I'm always confident, and in obviously it was my idea to do it a couple of years ago. In the first year, I'd done quite well, so I was like, yeah, I'm the fucking man. And this year, I was pathetic. Like some of the stuff, I actually don't believe I said it. I think Tez made it up. So that's why this year we're doing it here, where we can get it back easily. Like
we're doing it here.
But yeah, but anyone that wants to, obviously in the comments and whatever, we'll probably tweet the categories this week that we're going to do for our predictions, and then they can either reply in the tweet or reply when we're doing it live, so we can laugh at everyone. Schwinn this year, what did he say? He said the team that were going to win the Europa League that weren't even in it. Like,
who did he say again? It was some idea. It was some. Fucking idiot. What do you got?
Onto the questions this week. Craig, who used to do the player ratings, I'm not sure what's happening with that next season, but he's in our group chats and whatnot.
The blog was cracking, and then I went back to hospital, and then I was like, oh, fucking hell. So, yeah. I don't know what's on.
I've got a little private friends group chat that I'm not allowed in, so I'll leave that. Mainly because I call everyone a dickhead that does the predictions every week. But Craig said, do you think Arteta has eyes on a back four long term? If so, is Ainsley a long term right back in a 4 rather than a right wing back in a 3 or a 5? I kind of touched on this earlier by saying I think he would play. I think he's going to play a 5. But I said in the group chat earlier, has he ever played right wing back for us? I assume he must have done, but I can't.
He would have, sure.
I'm the same as you. I think, of course. But then when I try and think of games, and usually my memory is quite good with stuff like that, I can't think of one. Because Emery didn't really play a 5. He did a little bit at the start of the season and then abandoned it.
No, he played a 5 against Liverpool when we got smacked, didn't he?
Who? What, in the 5-1?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ainsley played right wing.
Yeah, he's right wing.
Yeah, he was one of the 3 up top.
Oh, did he?
Jeez. Yeah.
Okay, I was thinking Jack was on it then.
No. I was there. It was like 2 days after Christmas. It was fucking freezing. We went 1-0 up. Ainsley scored, and my mate came and jumped on my head. And by the time he got back to his seat, we were 2-1 down.
Yeah, I'd take that over how I like to watch it any day of the week. I had to get rushed home from a holiday because my mouth had swollen up. So I'll take being in the cold at the stadium over that any day of the week.
Ray, you will not get any brownie points from fucking Tony, mate. Let me tell you, mate, he's fake as they come, brother.
You did make up some of it, but yeah. So even though I'm going to sit here and say, yeah, I think Ains starts as a right wing back in a back five if Hector goes, I also can't remember him ever playing there. So
No, I can't either. But
Yeah.
my memory's shit anyway, so I've got no chance.
So, I mean, I don't know about your opinion, Tel, but obviously, Jack, you think we're going to go back to a back four. So if Hector's sold, do you see Ainsley as the starting right back?
No, that's what I was saying before. Because I mean, that's why I was saying I don't want to lose Hector, because I think we'll definitely play a 5 against the big 6, especially away from home, at least this season. But I think while we're gelling all these new players that are allegedly coming in, I think we'll 100% play a 4 because we can accommodate it, and because I think Arteta will want to play that Pep way. I mean, he tried to as well, and I just don't think we had the players to do it. I mean, if we were to go to a 4, I think selling Bellerin would be criminal unless they had someone lined up, because Ainsley's not a starting right back. If anything, he could play it obviously out wide because of his pace. But Cedric personally would not, as he hasn't done enough to me at all to show that he's good enough to be a starting right back for Arsenal. Put it that way.
I think there's zero. I'm not going to say 0% chance because it'll bite me in the arse. I think there's less than 1% chance if Hector goes, we replace him. Personal opinion, not based on anything, but that's I don't see.
Well, then you got to keep him, or we're fucked.
I think he probably goes and Ainsley starts, whether that be right wing back or right wing back. I just think it will be right wing back.
Yeah, but does it feel good to you to like see that we're making these amazing additions to having 2 great new centre backs? So we've obviously got Tierney, who's quality, and then we go and take a risk with our right back. I mean, I'd rather have a solid back 4.
The last 18 months, I think Ainsley's better than him anyway. He's the best 1v1 defender at the club, and as a fullback, that's what you want. He's a much better footballer. He's a bit more careless, but you'd hope that if he's playing every week, he would get that out of his game. He's always linked much better with Pepe, and we spent 72 million on this bloke, whether people like it or not. So you've got to, and I hate it because it's Man United phrase, you've got to give him a platform to perform on and try and unlock him. United spent 100 million on Pogba and about 300 million trying to unlock him. For me, Ainsley's always performed better with Pepe than Hector has. So
also to be fair to Nico, I mean, he has got 18 goals and assists with 3 managers in his first season.
I'm not criticizing.
He's done well.
I'm just saying that you've got to give him a platform to perform, and he's worked better with Ainsley than he has Hector. As I said, Ainsley's a much better 1v1 defender. He's more comfortable on the ball if we're trying to play out from the back. For me, there's little intricacies of the game where Hector's better. I'm not denying that, but I think if you're looking at a 30 million package, for me, it's a real toss-up. I'd probably pick Ainsley anyway.
I think it's risky because Ainsley doesn't make that run that Bellerin does in the FA Cup final. Do you know what I mean?
He doesn't. No, you're right, but I can probably think of, if I look back through times of wingers pissing past Hector, and you don't see Ainsley beat pretty much ever. 1v1, it doesn't happen. Very, very rare. Whereas there's been games where you see Hector and you either go, he's way out of position, or like someone's just had him on absolute toast. But you're right, Ainsley doesn't make that run in the cup final. So there's strengths and negatives from both sides, but for me, as I said,
I like Ainsley, but I don't know if I like him at right back. I know I guess I don't like him being that utility player, to be honest.
He's a very, very good option as utility because he can fill in a lot of positions.
He can, and he plays a lot of games in the utility. It's just confusing a little bit, like you've got Hector in it, right? Hector's your right back, and he's your bloke you're starting. Week in, week out, but then all of a sudden, here we are discussing Maitland-Niles, who's a midfielder, and all of a sudden we're putting him as is he going to be a starting right back? Like, I still think what I'm getting at is if Bellerin leaves, we've got to replace that right back.
I don't think so. I think you tell Ainsley you're now look. They've obviously had this conversation to abandon selling him. That you are going to be a wing back, a full back, and he's obviously said, yeah. I mean, he's done public interviews where he said he'll play wherever. Whether that's true or not, we can only go on what we've heard. But I don't think they'd entertain selling Hector if Ainsley wasn't gonna play there. I know everyone's forgetting at the start of Arteta's reign as manager, Hector was still injured or coming back from injury, and Ainsley played right back and was very good. And then it was the old attitude; he didn't want to play there, and he got dropped for 5-6 weeks, and then he came back in when we started playing at 5 again. But did we play 5 at the back? Sorry, MAA Gunner said we played 5 at the back with Baku with Ainsley at right wing back.
You should remember that.
So pissed.
He was appalling that game. He was absolutely shocking in Baku.
No, he was. He was. I thought he played a 4, but I was very drunk.
He was. He was dog shit in Baku.
Yeah. What else we got, Tony?
Sorry, we've only got one other. PM Donegal, is it? Sorry, I've just closed the thread.
I've got it.
PM Donegal, has Tony got a horn after seeing reports that Hector might be sold and Hazy will be the regular right
wing? Fucking hit the nail on the head, PM.
Oh, shit, sorry, we got loads more. That was just on the quote sheet. There is more questions. Yeah, I prefer Ainsley. I don't need to say.
We know.
I told you last week. Fullback union, him and KT.
Fuck yeah.
Do
you find it weird that we call him KT? Because it sounds like you're calling him KT.
No, that's why I like it. You got this hard Scottish bloke that tries all the time and give everyone aggro, and then you call him a little girl's name. It's funny.
What else you got?
So this one is from Tez. He's pretending.
I don't fucking write your question.
I mean, he's using his Golson fan account, but it's Tez.
Oh. Hey, where's me fucking book, cunt?
Well, I told you gave me your address. I'm not going to send it to you, am I? How do you know if it's not you? How do you know it ain't been delivered yet? So this is from Tez. If we were to get all the transfers we would like this window, on Partey, and they click early, how would we fare against other teams which teams have a stronger squad?
No, I think. Look, even Gabriel and Saliba, right? We're building, lads, and you know we have discussed. Even if it's Bellerin or Maitland-Niles, who cares? We've got KT on the left, mate. David Luiz. I think that there's a foundation. Right now, we're probably 80% better than we were last year.
I mean, you don't have to answer your own question. Against the big teams, and people might be disappointed in this if we spend a lot of money, but we're still going to play this sit deep counter attack. Obviously, build out from the back and keep possession, but we're still going to do that. And then people are going to go, "Oh, you spent 100 million on this, like obviously on various players, and you're still parking the bus." Blah blah blah. But it is what it is. That's the best chance we got of winning the game. That's what you got to do. So I can't say how we're going to do. My only prediction would be better than we usually do. We're now going to go to places. Like I said, we go to Anfield in the third game, and I'm not saying we're going to win, but it's not out of the realms of possibility. Like, we could go to Anfield and win. Whereas I went there last year, and at no point did I think we're going to win this game today. I went there, we lost.
How depleted were you lads walking through the gates of Anfield or wherever, and you see the starting line, Mustafi and Socrates? Like, fuck, mate. Well, automatically you're thinking, there goes, well, we're already down 2-0.
The first 30-40 minutes, we looked like we were matching them. I mean, it was a good start of the game. I mean, if I remember it well enough, I mean, the difference between then and now is that I think we've been blessed a bit that the games we've got in this first half of the season are games where we would have struggled at had there been a full capacity out, or even fans at all. In Anfield, we're going to behind closed doors. And then we have limited capacity visits to the Etihad, which won't make a difference. But then obviously Old Trafford as well. And I think this year around, especially the way we've been looking and playing, I honestly see us getting a fair few points off the top six, especially away from home, and especially in the first half of the season. Because when there hasn't been a crowd there and Arteta's been able to get his message to the players, bar a couple of hiccups like at Villa when we just obviously had the City game, and obviously Liverpool before that, and then right at the beginning, we look like we can match anyone because Arteta seems to have a game plan lined up for anyone perfectly. So I got to be honest with you, even if we don't have the new signings eligible, I actually think we could go and get a result at Anfield.
Yeah, as I said, that's where we're at the moment. That he's got us to a point where I believe my worry, because you can't depend on them games. Them games are vanity, beating the big teams. The sanity is getting the points off the other 15. Because if you do that,
100%.
Or anyway, and my worry, and I touched on it earlier, is the teams that part the bus. Like and I don't want to say it because I'm not saying it's just because of him, but since Ozil's been out, we haven't been able to break teams down. And I'm not saying bring Ozil back, but I'm saying we need someone that's going to help do that.
But that's why you've got a Willian, and then Alvaro, Coutinho, and then also potentially, say what rumours saying even Ben Rama's creative. We're looking to sign those flair players, and if we can't get them over the line, we've still got Willian there, which I think will make a big difference.
That's the big differences from last year. That's the area we need to improve more than anything else. Because as I said,
we need a party. We need Partey because, like, you look. My only worry is our defence. Boom, right? It's fucking looking sweet. Our up top, yeah, it's looking sweet. Depending on what happens with Lacazette, Eddie, Aubameyang, and things like that. But it's looking good. My worry is this season, moving forward, is everything's going to be built around Granit. And if Granit has a bad game, I can tell you that's going to be our little bit of weakness. And if he needs help in that midfield, and if he's got an El Neni beside him or something like that, well, fuck me, that's going to be a major worry. Ceballos, yeah, cool. But if Granit has a bad game, then that's us losing.
See, I disagree with most people here. I think a creative player is more important than a Partey, because for me, and I've said this since day one of this podcast, defense is about structure. And you give it to, and that's what Arteta done at the end of the season. He had the same players that we said couldn't defend under Emery, and suddenly we're keeping clean sheets against City. We're beating Chelsea in a cup final. We beat Liverpool. We've only conceded one goal against all of these teams in consecutive games. Did anyone score more than one goal after that City League game against us? Villa beat us 1-0. Leicester was 1-1. Watford in the season when we went back to a back four.
Brighton and Spurs.
Yeah, so again, Brighton was before we changed to a back five, and then Tottenham. So for me, defence is about structure.
A prime example is Chris Wilder at Sheffield United.
Yeah, I mean, how he plays is fucking insane. It's mental.
Yeah.
But I said that. Do you know what? People don't give Wilder enough credit, because people go on about the overlapping centre backs and no one's ever done it before and how well it's worked. Anyone seen how KT's been playing? He's an overlapping centre back who's obviously naturally a left back. And I think had Guardiola done that, everyone would be giving him credit. Like, oh, look at this innovative. Because it's unfashionable Chris Wilder, who lives in Yorkshire and is Yorkshire and has a really strong tea and probably argues with people a lot. No one gives credit for it. But for me, a creative player is much more important, because you can't fix that with system. And look, William might be that player, and that would be fantastic. But I want Partey, I really do. And I think under Emery, the way we played under Emery, he would have been the most important signing. But I think the way Arteta's got us playing, I think someone that can break a team down is more important.
What else you got?
1 second.
We do seem like the sort of team that if we can score 2 or even 1, we can also quite easily close up shop now, based on how.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect us to lose scoring 2 goals this season, whereas in years gone by, I definitely couldn't say that.
I would also like to think that a lot of those stupid draws obviously won't happen now as well, based on all the changes seen under Mikel. I mean, that alone would give us an extra 10-15 points off where we left off after the amount of draws we had under Emery. I think it was like 2 months where we didn't win or something. Yeah,
it was. So Tez again. How much should we expect for Bellerin? We've done that. And who do we buy with the money? We've done that. Does Maitland-Niles step in before Pablo? I assume you mean Cedric, Tez. And if so, yes, for me. I like Cedric, but I just think Ainsley's better.
No, I like Cedric.
Well, you'd have him as first choice above Ainsley?
Yep.
As a right wing back, God no.
Yep. Nah, I'll go Maitland Niles. I asked the question, so I thought, oh well.
Yeah, but you like answering your own questions. The only one to jump in. Hakon Larson. You guys think we would sign Partey or Aouar? And which one of them do we need the most? Funnily enough, just what we spoke about. I think we will probably sign one of the two, and I think Partey is more likely, but I think Aouar is probably more needed. Whatever one of you wants to answer that.
I kind of get the impression from all the reports that it's a case of if we can sign both, we will.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. But who do you think? Obviously, I just had a little rant about it. Who do you think is more important?
I think, especially because we've got a young defence with the potential it does, you kind of need to protect them, especially because of our fan base. Because we both know, let me rephrase that. We all know that, well, especially Tony, because obviously you're also obviously on the away scheme as well. If a defender will make one or two even minor mistakes in the game, they will get abused, and it's completely wrong. It's completely out of order. And I think that to enable these young players to progress the way that they should, I think you need to offer them protection, which Xhaka and Partey would give, especially on the fact that in theory we could put Willian in that creative position, or even drop like a Zet or a false nine or something. But
then that drops you back to a 4 at the back, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, I know. But
to be honest, I think my answer is dependent. I think if we go over back 4, then Partey is more important, more needed than a creative player.
I mean, if it's a 4 and you've got Xhaka, let's say for example, either a 4-3-3 or the old 4-2-3-1. If you've got a back 4 and then the two deeper midfielders of Xhaka and Partey, you can more or less allow your striker, your wingers, and your attacking midfielder to more or less have a free roam to attack, because I mean, that's a very, very solid. I'd say.
And then Ceballos would be that one going up top. I guess.
The point is, then you've got Ceballos there, you've got Willian, you've got options. Obviously, we get Aouar as well. It's a massive bonus because that's another top quality player. But the protection,
the joys you've got if you do that as well is if the left back goes, Granit slips into the left. Obviously, Partey's played a lot of games at right back, so if the right back goes, whoever that is, Partey can cover there. But I think as a 4, Partey would be more important. As a 5, I think a creative player. And if
Tony, what if we played that, that 4-3-3, 3-4-3 hybrid where when we go forward, Xhaka kind of drops to become a third centre back? That could be how we go about it.
I think the only reason they've done that and they abandoned it pretty quickly is because they knew Saka wasn't a defender, but he was the only person we had that could play there.
Yeah, so he went. Tierney.
Yeah, I don't think. But Tierney can defend. He's got the engine to get up and down. You got to remember, Saka still isn't fit. He wasn't fit enough to play in the Premier League. Like, he was too young.
No, I know, but I mean, as a compromise to either playing 5 at the back or 4, they could also just very.
I think the more likely option is, especially if Ainsley's playing as a wing back, then he slots into the middle and the defence shifts across one. And I know it's not ideal having Saliba out there, but you'd only have to cover. And if we've got a decent holding midfielder or someone that can shift to that side, they could cover as well.
But then also, doesn't Guardiola do that thing where one of his fullbacks is more of a midfielder anyways when he plays a 4, and that they rather than going, they kind of tuck in to play that ball?
Well, a lot of them, I mean, Kyle Walker, that's how Kyle Walker started playing right centre back. So they don't tuck into the midfield. They more tuck into spread the pitch wide. I said, I think the hybrid, I wouldn't rule out at all, but I think the hybrid comes from the fullback, not a midfielder slotting into centre back. But
who would your other centre back be if you played in a 3? Let's say you go Saliba, Gabriel. Who would you go? Would you go Luiz or Mari?
Oh, in the middle, 100%.
Oh, you'd have to
Actually, that's a stupid question. Sorry, I take that back. Luiz in a 3.
Hey, I'm the host of this show.
That's just the fact that it's 1:40 a.m.
We also don't have anyone else, because if Holding goes out, Chambers injured, Musti's injured, Socrates, it looks like it's going to go out. So, although if all of them were fit, the answer would still be Luiz. We actually don't have any options.
Could that push us to go to a 4 then? Because if we get an injury, we can't play a back 3.
No, but it depends how long. I don't know how long Musti and Chambers are out for, and you've got KT who can slot into the left and then move another one over. So I mean, I think if we're in trouble, you can put one of the two new guys in the middle.
I also don't. I also got a feeling we'll cash in on Mustafi because I reckon we can actually get a half decent fee for him.
I don't think we will. He's only got a year left. Anyway,
Who'd be stupid enough to buy that bloke?
Nah, you'd be surprised if you think about
I
it.
know.
Right?
You'd
He was
get
good
it.
in Spain. He's a German World Cup winner. He was very, very good towards the end of last season. Will you be able, I reckon, to get 10, 15 million for him with a year left?
I think I don't think him signing a new contract is a crazy idea.
Neither, at all. Under Arteta, I think he's been one of our.
Otherwise, he's gone for free in the summer because I can't say his hamstring's fallen off, so no one's going to buy him. Not for the money you're talking anyway. And if someone offers Arsenal 2 million, you just wouldn't take it. So,
what else you got? What else you got? Move on.
The best signing in the Premier League so far, Hakan Larsson asked.
It's fucking hard. His buddy has a question here on Van de Beek.
I've got an answer. I know.
Is he confirmed yet?
No, it's not confirmed yet.
Do you know who I think the signing is?
I did inquire about Van de Beek.
I'd say Dean Henderson's new contract for United so far.
He's not going to start. It's a good deal, but
he should do because De Gea is shocking.
It'd be something at Chelsea. They've done some good signings.
Yeah, but they're too unproven in the league. Like,
this is bullshit. This fucking unproven crap. I don't buy into it. You're either a good player, you turn up.
Havertz has had one good season. Werner's been good, but the way they play in Germany suits his style of play. You don't know how they'd adapt it. Thiago Silva, they took the piss out of us signing Luiz and Willian. I mean, Thiago Silva's 36 now, and he's going to be their starting centre back. Chilwell, they completely overpaid for, and all it does is glamorise how good of a deal we got for KT. The thing is with Chelsea United, they kind of just chuck. Chelsea can because the Hazard money and the Morata money and the fact they had a year out without spending, but they kind of just chuck money and they don't get a good deal for that money. I mean, United are a prime example. I mean, they've just chucked 40 million at Van de Beek. He's a great player. I've watched him play the season live at Ajax, but then at the same time, they'd also chuck 60 million at Fred. Like they I don't know how much planning goes into it because even if you look at Van de Beek with United, where does he kind of fit in the team? Because which one of those three is the defensive midfielder?
Oh, mate, he'd be a good signing.
He's a great player.
I just think United they're playing every 3 days.
You got to slot him in there somewhere.
I don't think people going, you can't start the 3 of them together, which is right, but they're playing every 3 days. They've got Champions League. Ollie is going to want to win something as well, and he knows he's not going to win the Champions League. So then you've got your cup competitions. You've got a strong team for that. I mean, they rate McTominay up there. So if your second string midfield, I don't particularly rate him, but if your second string midfield includes McTominay, Van de Beek, and then one of the others, if Pogba's fit or Fernandes is fit, that's a fucking strong second string midfield.
Yeah. Also, to swing it back to us, I actually probably say Willian's probably one of the better signings of the window because if you look at his figures, his numbers for last season, he was one of Chelsea's best players statistically. I understand his stats, but still. And we've signed him on a free, and he's in theory the prime of his career.
I've just been thinking while you two have been talking. I don't know, but what I do know is we're going to have this same question next week on the predictions. So I'm going to sit on the fence, get splinters on my arse, and have a week to think about it. Hopefully something sensational happens in the next week where I go.
Hopefully you'll be comparing that between Partey and our.
Yeah, I mean, if Messi gets his way and Man City get him on a free, I think that's the answer.
Do you think if Messi comes, that City will just walk the next 3 years worth of titles or not at all? Because I don't. I think it'll still be a struggle. I think it'll still be a fight.
Chelsea signed that Sarr.
Yeah, but they loaned him out. Well, they haven't yet, but they've said they're loaning him out straight away. They haven't got a club yet, but they said he's in and straight back out.
That's a clever signing because I mean, all you're going to do is get value back if it doesn't work out on you because it's a free.
Yeah, just depends where he goes if they cover the wages, but yeah, they're going to make money on him.
I made money on him.
I'm
just looking at Chelsea signing Havertz.
It's a difficult one. I don't think there's any standout at the moment. Like, there's questions.
Well, it's hard, isn't it? It's hard. I haven't seen a lot. I get where Jack's coming from. They're not proven in the Premier League, and 3 weeks in, we could be going signs. It's so hard. Like Gabriel, for all we know, he could flop. Like he come from the French league, and
there's always.
I really don't think Chelsea are going to do as well as everyone thinks they will.
I don't. There's always usually a small club that gets someone, and you go, "How the fuck have they got? Like they got him."
Everton, Allen and
It's
Hammers.
not done yet. Him and Hammers have got their
Oh
medical.
yeah, Everton. Yeah, they got a couple of good signers coming. haven't they?
Him and Hammers having their medical tomorrow. They both pass and they both get signed. That makes them fucking a hell of a lot better at the
Yeah.
click of a finger.
Yeah, but Everton are a bit like West Ham. No disrespect. It kind of seems like they can sign anyone and they don't really progress.
Yeah, but
What's
I mean, looking at here and looking at signings, once them two are done, you'd have to say it depends on the money, which we don't know yet. But you'd have to go, yeah, they're up there, and you've got to consider them. If you
Oh, they're up
obviously,
Then
there.
if we
Sure.
pull out of the window
Absolutely.
with Ceballos, Willian, Aouar, Partey, and
I'm
Maguire,
just talking about, I'm
that's
answering
the
the
best
question
window
in
in-
with
yeah.
one who's the best signing so far. And I think, as I said, if we were doing this podcast tomorrow and them two had signed, depending on the figures, they would be two of your top answers.
Yeah.
As of now, obviously at the end of the window, everything can change. But as of now, I don't think there's any standout. And if it was doing it tomorrow and they both passed their medicals, I think they would be two of the top three answers.
Has Leicester City signed anyone yet?
No, they're talking about signing that Atlanta fullback. I'm trying to Castagnier, I think it's.
Well, they're
pronounced.
looking at Tagliafico.
Apparently that fell through, and they're looking at the Atalanta.
Yeah.
Just added Timothy Castagnier. So, but
Okay.
yeah, as I said, there's usually, I mean, Leeds and Rodrigo. I like Rodrigo. He just doesn't get enough goals, but then that's what he likes. That's what Bielsa likes. I mean, that's what Bamford's done. He runs around a lot, click on, but don't score enough, and half a copy. But Rodrigo's a better player. Anyway,
Just out of quick curiosity, if City get Messi, will you boys be saying Messi?
yeah, I just said that. If they get him on a free,
Yeah.
you can't. That's
Yeah.
one of them. You know, if we're doing our predictions and we say that, you can't be wrong. Like, because
No.
even
No,
if he's
you can't.
shit, no one's going to say in a
Did
year.
you just say all that?
Yeah.
I just switched totally off. Okay, that's how much I listen to you.
You don't learn anything. You listen to your next by now.
I was playing
Instead you're asking
Fortnite.
questions.
Sorry.
What was you doing? Searching on your Golson fan account?
No, I was playing Fortnite.
I've got a
Smashing
question
this
for you, Tez.
What?
What's a Golson?
I don't know. I asked you
Why you set
cunts
up
this
a
during the
fucking
week. I
account
said, what the fuck's a Golson? You're accusing me for something that I don't even know what it is.
Yeah.
Google, what is Golson?
Anyway, if anyone knows in the comments, please answer because I don't know what Tez on about. But the last question, finally.
And this bloke's address, I'll just say, it's around the corner from where Tony lives.
It's not. He made this story up the other day, and I was sad to say. He says his name's Pez, and he's from Australia. Coincidence. So yeah, last question.
Just read the last question. Fuck you.
Do you think Ceballos can play in the Xhaka role? And that's MAA Gunner who was talking about your TikTok earlier.
No.
No.
I think physicality is a problem, and the long range passing is the main issue. Danny's very good in tight spaces. Granite's not so much. Well, he is very good because he dives and gets a free kick every time. But they're similar. They're different, completely different. In that Danny's great in tight spaces, and Granite's better spread.
Well, Granite's moving you forward, moving your balls forward. He's playing them long balls to Willian, I'd imagine. Pepe, he'll be there. You know what I mean? Like he's playing them long balls. Ceballos is going to hold that play up.
To be fair, obviously everyone knows I don't like stats, but I saw something the other day, and I think whilst he was in the team, Danny was our most progressive passer.
Really?
But Granite doesn't play 5-yard balls; he plays 50-yard balls. So they're not as often. You're
they're not counting them.
5-yard balls more than you play 150, and then you try 250s, one of them doesn't work, and then Danny only has to do 11 5-yard, whatever. But yeah, no, I can't see him letting that wrong. Against maybe a team, there's some games where you might not need Granite because you're going to have that much of the ball, and you're not going to be able to play 50-yard passes because they're parked behind the bus, and then maybe you can rest Granite that week. But as a replacement, completely not for me, not the role.
This season is really going to cement who Granite is, I feel, because for once we've got I should say, be very careful. We've got a defence who is supposed to be going to be fucking brilliant, right? We've got attack who is going to be brilliant. So this is going to be Granite Xhaka's year, I feel, to really people criticised him over the years and have said, he's never been the player we thought we were going to be. We paid too much for him, blah, blah, blah. But people mistaken him for this flashy midfielder who's like an Ozil was back when Ozil was great. He's not that. And he's going to be linking them. This is my worry with Granite this year. He's going to be linking up that defence and that up them lads up front. And if he doesn't do that, he's really going to be under the microscope. That's my thoughts anyway.
I can see Xhaka becoming a bit like a Jordan Henderson for us.
He already is. I was saying that to a Liverpool fan the other day. They were saying that obviously they're missing Henderson is their most important player. Like, they can't describe why. They're just a much better team when he's in there. And I was saying this is what we've been saying all along about Xhaka. Individually, I don't rate Henderson and he didn't rate Xhaka. But it's undoubtable both teams are better when them two guys are playing.
I mean, he's for the last 2 years under Emery and Arteta, he really, I mean, bar that blip when obviously everything went down with him, he's been our most important player whenever we've been in form, without any shadow of a doubt. I mean, obviously, Aubameyang scores goals, and obviously we've had keeper stuff, but we really do look like a completely different team without him, and we struggle. We are dog shit without Xhaka.
But that's what my worry is this year as well, is that, you know, like, there's no more excuses for Granite, like, and he will be under that microscope because if he's not moving that ball forward, and I think he will, I'm quite confident.
Excuses. The only reason.
No, but you know what our fan base is like, mate.
Isn't tolerant.
The fan base, he does one little fuck up, and all of a sudden, Twitter blows up that he's fucked up again.
Yeah, but that's Arsenal Football Club. That's our fans. But unfortunately, because of the glory years, and I'm not trying to throw shade, and I understand it, but it's a lot of the older generation of fan is that there's a bit of an entitlement that we're the Arsenal and we're the best, and that's how it is. And people need to understand that you've got to build a squad, and you've got to, even if players not necessarily good enough to start, then they're still a good enough squad player to have. They're not just shit and get them out of the club. And I feel that this entitlement makes people think that unless you're Patrick Vieira, you're not good enough. And the thing is that there's too much comparison. When the fact is that anyone who has, I mean, people can argue the Ozil thing, fair enough. When it comes to Granite, if anyone tries to say, and there are obviously idiots on Twitter that try this, but when people try and cuss what Granite does, it's evident, it's there. We've literally just said it's in the flesh, you can see it. And I don't think it should be discredited at all. And I just think that self-entitlement that we are this club that we are in terms of our history doesn't mean we are now. And you're not just going to find a Vieira, etc. And I think people need to start to understand that to then not be cuss and abuse someone like Xhaka when he makes a mistake, because people will just hide their hate for him because they can't. If they were to go in it now, they'll just like a complete twat because of how good he's been.
Totally agree. Is that all you got, Tony? No more questions?
Yeah, that's it for the questions.
Did you want to do your Tony's TikTok session or what?
You're the only one here with TikTok.
Fuck it, I read in the chat the other day, fucking Tony with his TikToks.
Yeah, but what fucked you is you said, can people please add me on TikTok? I need some friends.
You want me TikTok at?
No.
You sure?
I'm not a 14-year-old girl.
Hang on, I got it here. TikTok at Golson.
I mean, it's only bad if you make videos, in my opinion.
No, it's not.
Just don't make it.
Only 14-year-old girls make videos. So if you're not a 14-year-old girl and you have it, you're a paedophile. There's no good way to come out of it.
To be fair,
you're a paedophile.
You can't win.
There are a lot of funny memes on TikTok.
You're exposing now. If I was you, I'd put one of your head.
How old are you, Jack? How old are you?
I'm 20, but it's an algorithm.
Fucking hell.
Whatever you like on your feeds comes up on your feeds.
I tell you what, you got about 12 months to get rid of the TikTok, mate, otherwise you're in the pedo category. Tony's already there.
I don't know what's legal for you guys in Australia, but here, acting like a 14-year-old girl or watching 14-year-old girls, not on, mate. Can't do that.
No, you can't do that. No, I know.
Well, I can assure you, I do not spend my time looking at 14-year-olds. What I spend my time on TikTok doing is looking at all the Arsenal memes because they are fucking hilarious.
Hey, my daughter's 15. You can't spend looking at her on TikTok.
I look like you. I won't go anywhere near her, mate.
Jesus Christ. Oi!
On that, we should round this
Let's
up.
go. Let's go. This just got very awkward.
Can I just say there is one individual on Arsenal Twitter which definitely views young children on TikTok, and his name, I'm not sure if it still is Nexus, but it used to be.
No, he's changed it twice since then.
Are we going down this path? Or are we wrapping this up?
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap. Hey, thank you for listening to the Clock End Talk. We'll be back next week, Tony, with predictions, hopefully with a full team. If Schwinn's there, Jack, you'll be there. Addy, you'll be joining us. I'm not sure what Darren and a couple of other lads are doing there, but anyway, there'll be a few of us. Predictions. Yeah, thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading, and thanks, boys.
Sure.
Good night.